fact, we had branches piled up like 6 feet tall. We had that done 3 different times this year. This tree is, it looks messy, but those leaves are actually going to be helping the tree. Everything that we spray on our trees is OMRI certified. We grow organically. If you have mango trees that you want to have fruit from this next season, do not supply nitrogen to the plant. We go to a certain height, and it does depend on the trees.
Hello everybody, welcome to Fruitful Trees. Today on the show, it's going to be a very special time. We're going to go back to truly tropical mangoes in Delray Beach, Florida. It's been a while since I've been there, and Chris, who runs it, is going to be on the show today talking about some topics, and we're going to have the next couple of episodes going to be with Chris. And Truly Tropical is truly tropical, and it's an amazing place. She has a bunch of mango trees. She sells other fruit too, but mostly mango trees. And we're going to look today, it's off mango season, and we're going to look at how she suggests taking care of mango trees when it's not during mango season. So she's going to talk about pruning trees, she's going to talk about spraying, she's going to talk about mulching. It's a nice episode, and then we're going to have other episodes as well of her talking about top working and her other fruit trees and what she has for sale. Just an amazing place. I'm going to put her contact information below. If you're in the South Florida area and you love fruit trees, I definitely recommend you visit Truly Tropical Mangoes. And she has a wonderful selection of trees for sale as well. So the link's below, and here's today's video. All right, everybody, here we are at Truly Tropical Mango Farm in Delray, and this is Chris. And Chris has a bunch of trees, hundreds of mango trees, and a bunch of different varieties. And we're gonna look at some of those today and discuss the trees of what she's doing them. It's not mango season now, so we're gonna get a good look at how they look off season. Thank you for joining us or having us come on out to check out your trees.
Oh, well, welcome. Glad we were able to get our schedules together. One thing that I should mention is that all of the trees in the grove got severely trimmed. A lot of people were worried about them recovering for next season, but with the trunk size on these particular trees, they grow quickly, and you really have to, stay on top of the trimming. So every tree gets trimmed every year, and it's a huge project. In fact, we had branches piled up like 6 feet tall, either side of the driveway, and we hire a tree company to come in and chip it up, and all the mulch goes back into the grove, and so it helps provide nutrients for the trees. But we had that done 3 different times this year. And so it's an amazingly large project, and basically I wouldn't have to trim quite as much if I hadn't missed like 5 years of trimming years ago, because once those trunks get big, they do grow. But everything looks like it is all set. I mean, as far as a good stage, of course, we have younger leaves that will mature before the first cold. But basically, you want to have the trees quiet before the cold weather hits, because then the cold weather will sort of make the new growth be flowers instead of leaves.
Now, when you say 3 different times, not for one tree.
No,
it just for all your trees.
True, yes.
Okay, and another thing you mentioned that was interesting was the trunk size of the tree. So I've always heard when you trim, you shouldn't do more than a certain percentage, or it can affect things, but that should be depending on the trunk of the tree. So if you have a big trunk tree, can you trim 50%, or like how? Explain that a little.
Well, we go to a certain height, and it does depend on the trees. There's some trees that we didn't trim the sides, we only trimmed the top this year. And there's other times that we will trim, just some of the sides. It sort of depends on the situation. But if you make major cuts, like if I were cutting a branch that's that big, and it will take years before the new growth will produce fruit. hopefully 2 years, but it could be more. So basically, we try to trim a lot of branch ends instead of the whole branch. And so it makes a lot of branches no matter how you trim them. But it does, I'm not worried about this next season as far as the fruit production.
I know you may have a lot of videos on your website. Do you have one particularly how to prune a mango tree?
I don't remember because we didn't do it this year, but we might have one, yeah.
Okay. And so this is interesting. So when you prune your trees and you make all the mulch, I know you don't water your mango trees, but do you mulch your mango trees?
Well, we spread the mulch around. We haven't done that yet, but you can see there's just lots of leaves, and the leaves are where most of the nutrition is. It's not in the wood. And so this tree is, it looks messy, but those leaves are actually going to be helping the tree.
Now, if somebody decides not to water, you think mulching is essential, or it just helps?
I would say that it depends on their situation and whether it's essential or not. It certainly helps.
Okay. So what's the latest you can trim a tree back or prune a tree and expect to get mangoes the following season?
So the timing of trimming, as far as when it will affect the fruiting of the tree, it actually doesn't depend as much on when you trim the tree as when the first really cold weather hits. And so, right now we're just in the beginning of November. It's been pretty warm so far. So if we get some really cold weather in a few weeks, I don't think it's even going to matter because most of the leaves are mature on the branch ends, and ones that are not, like for instance this, if we got cold weather before this hardened off, it's just a part of the tree. It's not the whole tree. So I think that the timing is good, but basically what I tell people to do when they have just a few mango trees is after you pick the last fruit from the tree, trim the tree. And it's just an easy way to get it done, and it starts the tree on its next cycle.
Okay, and also for you not using water on your trees, but for new trees you do, what, the first 2 years, or once it's established in the first 6 months? When do you shut off the water or stop watering the trees?
Well, I plant trees a little differently than most people, and that's because I sort of admit to some of my weaknesses. And one of the things that happens with me is I get distracted with other projects, and so if I have to water a new tree, sometimes it doesn't happen and it dies. So in order to circumvent my weakness, I plant seeds where I want a tree. And if this seed survives and grows, then I top work it. And so that way I don't have to ever water the tree. It's just, it grows more slowly in the beginning because it's, putting out roots and so that it can survive. But that way I can put a seed or so. I mean, sometimes I put a few seeds in the ground, put a stake to mark it, and then just forget about it until it, gets to be a couple feet tall.
Wow. Now, you planted most of these trees in this grove. Is that how you did them at the time?
No. That was in 1999 that I planted this entire side of the grove, and that was all 3-gallon trees. And we had irrigation system set up, but the trees were not doing well at all, actually, because this side of the grove, it's hard to imagine now, but it was completely empty except for there were some weeds. It was mostly sand, and there were some weeds, and there was one gumbo limbo tree. So this was just empty here, and planted a whole bunch of 3-gallon trees. And what happened is they just, even with the irrigation, they didn't grow. And so the problem with that particular situation was that it was just sand and the sand was getting very hot, and like the roots couldn't form with the hot sand. And so I developed relationships with a couple of tree trimming services, and they would come here and dump their mulch after they chipped up trees, and we spread it all over the grove, and then the trees started growing.
Wow.
So the mulch is really important if you have a situation where the sand is well, there's nothing growing, there's just sand, and then that gets too hot for the roots to form.
In that situation, once the tree starts growing and is this big, can it still kill the tree if it's too hot? Or not?
No. And of course, trees, not this is from trimming trees, all these extra leaves, but trees do drop leaves, throughout the year, and it provides its own shade for the roots. The roots also are going very deep. The taproot is going very deep, and then the lateral roots go at least 3 times the distance from the trunk of the tree to the edge of the tree. So, they have just a huge area to draw nutrients and water from.
So, something for people to know, correct me on this if I'm wrong, when you're mulching around the tree, if you decide to, at this point, mulching near the bark is useless because all the feeder roots are on the outside of the canopy. Is that true or no?
Yeah, no matter what size tree you have, you don't want to put mulch up against the trunk. So you want to keep the mulch away, keep that nice and dry near the trunk. But it's, like putting mulch in this area is actually probably going to benefit the tree more than putting it closer to the tree, because, under the tree it's got, its own little shade, it's got weeds, it's got leaves that it's dropped, and this area, there's plenty of roots coming from both of these trees into this area, and they will pick up some of the nutrients there.
Okay, so do you spray your trees?
You were coming into spray season. Of course, with this kind of wind, we can't spray, but we will be spraying, nutritional sprays. And then when we gets closer to flowering season, we want to, keep the trees clean. So sulfur and copper, things that we spray. Everything that we spray on our trees is OMRI certified. We grow organically, which I hear we're the only grove that does that, but I'm not sure if that's the case. Only grove in South Florida, I should say. But it's a little more work, but I like to eat organically grown things, and so do a lot of our customers. With the trees like they are here, it gets a little bit tough to spray the trees. Of course, we have to wait for the end of the wind, but we try to trim them so that the golf cart can come through with the sprayer, and hopefully we'll be able to use the boom sprayer, which makes it a lot easier to spray the trees. But there's only so much. You can't do a couple hundred trees perfectly, so we do it as we deliver as many nutrients and control for as many things as possible. But the wind definitely gets in the way with the spraying.
For somebody who has a small yard with maybe 3 or 4 trees, how necessary or helpful is it to spray?
It really depends on where you are. There's certain areas, we're lucky here because we're 1 mile from the ocean, and we're high up. We're on an old sand ridge, and so it's a pretty good place for mangoes. But other people have areas that, for instance, stay damp, and they have to spray copper a lot just to keep the fungus under control. Spraying sulfur when the trees are flowering is really important for us, and I think most people, because of powdery mildew.
So is what you're saying that the amount of trees don't matter as much as the area you're in?
Yeah, the location is important. Different locations have their own little personalities as far as what you need to do for them.
Okay, and when you trim your tree back, what is your ideal height, in your opinion, for trimming a tree?
It's sort of, like, well, there's some that are taller, but we try to be able to reach things with a picker pole is the goal. So these trees might grow a little bit more before the fruit is on them, but right now I would say that most of the trees are between 8 and 12 feet, maybe.
So that's where you like to keep them, between 8 and 12 feet?
I mean, they're going to get taller, and then we'll make them shorter. And it's just, sort of a game that we play every year.
Now, on certain varieties that grow super big, is it possible to keep them too short where it's going to affect production? Or
well, I have heard people say that they've kept Valencia Pride, very small and actually gotten fruit. I haven't done that. Fortunately, I have areas that I can grow big trees, and so I did have several big Valencia Pride trees, but we had to trim them way back because it's not only a pain in the neck, literally, but also just more difficult to time consuming too to pick the fruit when you have a really large tree. So this size tree is something where we feel like we can see the fruit, sort of see when it's ready to pick, and then also pick it fairly easily.
Now, when you're trimming the tree, the bottom leaves, you leave it, it looks like a big bush. You can't really see the tree trunk on many of your trees. And I know that's going to get you more mangoes, but some of those mangoes will hit the floor.
Yeah.
You got to stake them up. It's more work.
Yeah, I don't trim all of the trees. I trim very few of them, actually. And all of these branches are, there's no reason to have them there. So I'll probably come back and trim them before fruiting, because there's no reason to have them drooping to the ground. You'll find that most all of the trees in the grove do not have that, but this particular tree, I think probably because the pallets were here, the guy who was trimming it just didn't trim those. So.
Okay, all right. So anything else you'd like to share about this coming mango season, or tips and suggestions for people who have mango trees?
Well, this is a good time of year to add amendments to your soil. That's something we added gypsum. This area that just doesn't have calcium, the sand, and so we put 2,000 pounds of gypsum in the grove. So it's a significant project there, but there are other things that we've begun using, like the azomite. The 0316 fertilizer is also good for this time of year. Basically, if you have mango trees that you want to have fruit from this next season, do not supply nitrogen to the plant, because the nitrogen will encourage leaf growth, and you want it to be a calm tree in order to have flowers.
Okay. Well, I'm going to put your links below, your website, and also your YouTube channel. You have many wonderful videos. Thank you for taking the time to join us.
Oh, well, it's always nice to see you, Paul.
All right, great. All right, everybody, thank you for watching. That was truly tropical and truly amazing. I love that place. And believe it or not, my friend John, who has Growing Your Greens, John Kohler, he came to visit me years ago, and he came home with a bunch of lemon meringue mangoes. It was the first time I've ever heard of a lemon meringue mango. And he told me about Truly Tropical. He was just there filming, and he got lemon meringue mangoes for the first time. And there they are in the back. I have them. And I was like, wow. And I got to get to that place. And I was there like the next day. I bought a bunch of lemon meringue mangoes, and I ended up getting trees. I have 2 trees, my first 2 mango trees in my yard, lemon meringue mango. I love it. And they have a ton of lemon meringue mangoes and other varieties of mangoes, really cool varieties. We're going to look at another episode, the different varieties they have. But definitely get on out to Truly Tropical. Thank you, Chris, for being on the show. And we look forward to coming back there in the summer and tasting and seeing all your new mangoes. And if you have a farm or you grow mango trees or any other fruit trees and you'd like me to come out, my links below. Also the link below to Truly Tropical. Thank you for watching, everybody. Please share this with others. And if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. Until then, everybody, have a great day and keep growing.